Welcome back to another episode in Gurukul Online Learning. I am Nishit Dey. So far, the last lesson was on the right hand movement even more, and mostly on how to place your left hand. So I take it that if you're watching this lesson, you have already been to a certain extent in Sitar, and I take it that your sound production is much better than it was, and you now know how to place your left hand. If you haven't come this far already, it's better if you stop right here and not try this at all at the moment, or if you have, or if you believe that you're satisfied, then this lesson is for you. So today we are going to learn the basic the frets of the sitar, how to play notes in the sitar, and more on the left hand positioning, and specifically this line that we talked about. Okay, so the first thing before we continue, let us just recap on the sitting position. Mind you, I keep on telling about the seating position and the hand position. It is because it is very, very, very important, and if you do it wrong, the sitar is going to be that much harder to learn. So just a recap, we hold the sitar like this, we place it here, this foot needs to be very close to your hip, and you are going to place it here and then stop it, like create this block so the sitar doesn't move with your this portion, with your thigh and your knee. And then the thumb position is very important. You place it around here, and so your right hand can move freely like this in an orbit in two axes. Your left hand, your left side of the sitar is going to be very close to your body, and of course in 45 degrees angle. Okay, so having that said, let us also recap the sound production that we were looking for from your right hand, which is something like this. So the 80% of the stroke is going to be absorbed by your main string, and the rest 20% is going to be absorbed by the jaw string or the bass string or the golden string, whatever you want to call it. And so this is going to be the sound that we're looking for. Very loud. It's going to be very loud, as loud as you possibly can. Okay, and the left hand, we learned how to play sa the last class. So if you hold the sa and then join it with the stroke, it should sound something like. This is what it should sound like. Now we are going to learn the basic notes. So we all know that there are 7 notes in Indian classical system. So those notes are sa, re, ga, ma, and pa, dha, ni. But every note has it's actually the short forms of every note. Every note has a longer actual name. So sa is Sharoj, re, Rekhab or Rishav, ga is Gandhar, ma is Madham, pa is Pancham, dha Dhaivad, and ni is Nishad or Nikhad. So having that said, I came up with this own formula of mine, which is not very difficult or anything. It's just I found it this way to be much more easier for students to learn. So the formula is 1 2 gap 1 2 gap 1 2 gap 1 2. So sa, re, ga, ma, pa, dha, ni, sa. We are playing with 8 notes here. Technically, sa and sa is the same note, is just in different octaves. So we are still going to consider that we are playing 8 notes. So sa, re, ga, ma, pa, dha, ni. So 1 2 gap 1 2 gap 1 2 gap 1 2. It adds up to 8. What is this 1 2 gap, you ask? This is the answer. So this is 1 and 2 right next to each other. This is sa and re. So 1 and 2, then gap. This is the note that we are going to have the gap in. We are not going to play this note. We are going to omit this note. So 1 2 gap 1 2 gap 1 2 gap 1 2. So there's this another thing that I really want to, we all know this, but I still want to recap, which is that every note except for sa and pa has a major or a minor form. So sa and pa, they're standalone notes, they don't have major or minor forms, they are standalone. Re has two re's. This is Shuddha Re, and you have Komol Re, which is a minor version of the Re. You can either change the frets, or you can have a mir or pull on the string. We are going to discuss this at a later period in class. So this is Komol Re, this is Shuddha Re, and then you have ga, you have shuddha ga and komal ga, which is like a normal ga and a minor ga. Shuddha ga is, komal ga is, and then you have shuddhama and tibroma, which is a major version of ma. So this is shuddhama, this is tibroma, and then you have pa, which is standalone, and then you have dha. This is the normal dha, and you also have a minor version which is called the komal dha. And then you have ni. This is shuddha ni, and you have komal ni. So what we are going to do is we are going to only play the shuddha swars or the shuddha notes or the normal notes, and not go to any major or minor scale just yet. So the theory that we discussed is 1 2 gap 1 2 gap 1 2 gap 1 2. This is what we are going to do this class. So we are going to concentrate on the coordination of both our hands, as well as try to develop this line. This line is not going to be there overnight. We have to put in some effort. Some pain is going to be there, very minimal, but let's say we are going to take around somewhere between 1 week to 2 weeks to have a line good enough that it can basically withstand the force and let us play. But it's going to take around 2 weeks or so, provided that you give your sitar at least 20 minutes every day. But you will get there, get there eventually. So this is what we are going to do. We are going to hold the sitar like this, as I said, and the gap here is very important that there is a gap here, and your thumb position is going to be, it needs to be perfect. You can watch the previous video for the thumb position. And we are going to merge this lesson with the lesson that we learned, that 4 das and 4 ras, and this is what we are going to do. We are going to take a very slow tempo. Slow is very important. What we do is we sometimes get very excited and the tempo goes very high up. That is something that we do not want. We want the tempo to be very low but steady. So here is a demonstration on what we are trying to achieve. The further that we go, the strings are going to be much tougher because it's getting closer to the bridge. So it's very normal if you can't hit all the notes straight away. All we have to do is keep on trying. And if your index finger starts to hurt, then we are allowed to use 2 fingers like this. I'm going to speed it up just a bit. The sa should always be played by the middle finger as of now, and then we repeat sa on 2 cycles. Notice the finger position, and then coming back to the index finger. Very clean sound. Notice how the right hand extends fully. It's very important that you extend it, spread it out as much as you can. Having that said, it's a common problem that during the first period when you are going to try something like this, you are going to face some challenges after ma. So the first day the scenario might be like you can play sa, you can play re, ga becomes a bit more difficult since it's gonna need a little bit more of pressure. So the idea is the more closer you go towards this bridge, the stiffer the strings get. so more additional pressure is needed to play the string. So it's completely fine if you cannot achieve all the notes in one day. You're not supposed to. Let's say we are going to give around 2 days of time or 3 days in playing sa, re, ga and ma. Once you are done with ma, and after the 4th day you are going to notice, provided that you have practiced regularly and daily, that ma has become much easier than it was on day 1, and then you are going to be able to play pa and then dha, ni and sa eventually. But I always compare playing sitar or learning sitar to I don't know, bodybuilding or karate or something like that, because you can't really push yourself in doing everything within one day. It's more like a slow but constant continuous process. So what we are going to do is the lessons that we have learned till now are going to kind of accumulate together, and that is going to be your regular routine. So the first lesson that you are going to do right after you sit down with the sitar is turn a stopwatch on, because it really helps, or set your timer for 5 minutes, and then for 5 minutes what we are going to do is we are going to just da 4 times and ra 4 times for 5 minutes. It is very important that you realize that until or unless you are tired, that is just the warm-up period. The actual practice is going to be while you are pushing yourself, while you are tired. So you have to kind of reach your extreme, I don't know, to a point where you cannot push yourself anymore. That is the point we are looking for after. So the first 5 minutes is going to be all da on open string. Just look at it. It's very important that you keep on looking at it, because it needs to look good, it needs to feel good, and the impact needs to be maximum. And then you are going to take around 2 minutes of break, not more, and then you are going to do the same thing over again, very hard, but this time with your left hand on the fretboard. And then you do it for 5 minutes, and the next 10 minutes what you are going to spend on is you are going to play each and every note, just like the lesson that we have shown on this video. Each and every note, 8 strokes in total, 4 das and 4 ras. Do around 10 minutes of this, going to sa and coming back, and then going again and coming back at a very low, very calm speed, not speeding it up at all, but we are looking for much more sound. So this is it for today. See you again next class. Hope you're having fun. Thank you.